Our final featured for this week is Io Capitano. Io Capitano.
Io Capitano.
Io Capitano. And it centers on two Senegal teens living in Dakar. And their names are Seydou and Moussa. And they're best friends. They live in Senegal. Everything, it starts off with you see the culture, you see the neighborhood, the environment. They have at least Seydou comes from a loving family. They're cousins. They're best friends, but they're also cousins. But they've been saving for 6 months to secretly saving for 6 months to leave Dakar and actually go just across the ocean to Italy. They believe that they can maybe gain some riches or actually just make some money to send money back home. Simple plan, right? That's way to help support the family. Problem is that journey from Dakar to Italy is a treacherous one, to say the least. The rest of the movie, Il Capitano, directed by Matteo Garrone, and he's also a co-writer. It just really,
Written by.
well, it's which one?
Written by.
Written by, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
did you see the list of the writers on this?
Oh no,
There's like 7 or 8 writers on this.
Oh my gosh, you're right. There are, well, it says here collaborating writers. So there's
Yeah.
actually three other written bys and then collaborating writers, which is interesting. There's about 6 or 7 more collaborating writers. So
Yeah.
to Eric's point, there's about, yeah, 7 or 8
Be
writers.
curious what that's all about.
I think
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, you know? Okay. Well,
I think because I saw an interview with Matteo, and he talked about how this movie is not a true story, but there's a lot of the events in here are true stories from different people. So a lot of the things you see are like pieces of this movie are true stories. So I'm guessing the contributing writers are the different people who told their stories and became incorporated as this full single story.
That actually makes sense.
okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Io Capitano, and a couple of reasons why to see this movie. Amazing performance by Seydou Sarr as Seydou, the lead in this movie, and his cousin Moustapha Fall, also a good performance. They work, they have a great chemistry. You're very invested in their friendship, and you're pulling for them to actually travel through it to Italy. Second big reason to check out this movie is even though it's nominated for international film Oscar nomination, so that's good. Might want to see it for that. But if you're thinking it might be one of these movies that are too esoteric for you, think again. This movie is also an epic adventure. There's a whole sequence in the Sahara Desert, which is you won't forget. Okay, and there's some surreal moments in this as well. There are other locations that they travel. It is, yeah. When I say epic, it's very underrated when I say that. There's just so many things that happen in this movie, good and bad. It is on just a cinematic level worth watching on the big screen because of its epic grand adventure, and it's mixed in with this social dynamic as well as you learn about the culture and about the migration, the troubles of migration from one area to the next. So even though it's not based on a true story, it's inspired by real events as well. So that's Io Capitano. Bruce, take it away.
Yeah, I adore this movie. I love this movie so much. A few things that kind of struck me. I mean, you described it pretty well. First of all, when I started watching this movie, I immediately got out the map. Like, where's Senegal? You know, and you're like, okay, it's on the west coast of Africa. And then I saw where they're trying to get to, which is across the Mediterranean. So basically, they're going to go way inland and then way up and through the Sahara Desert and all these things, right? So that was the first thing. Like, just what the heck is the journey going to be? Second thing was they're not leaving like a terrible life. Sure, it may look like a lot lower and not the kind of Western world we're living in, but they're surrounded by loving people. They seem to be living a life that's pretty good. These are starry-eyed teenage kids, and everyone at their home says, "Don't do this. That's a terrible idea." But they're just enthusiastic, and that's a very interesting, I thought, approach, as opposed to like a lot of times we get these where it's like the homeland is so terrible that the only way to survive, the only chance you have is to get out. So it's a different dynamic, I think. And what I was struck by throughout this whole movie is that like at every step of the way, my anxiety just kept growing because they're so hopeful and naive. And at every turn someone's offering them something. It's almost like if you get the random like spam emails and the first one you get is like, yeah, sounds great, let's do that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like they're doing that, and their lives are on the line when they're doing that every single time, and they have no idea what they're getting into, and we have no idea exactly what they're getting into, and each step of the way it just keeps getting worse in some ways. But also, I also want to, the last thing I want to point out is the overall tone of this is not dour, though. There are very tense moments. There are definitely dour moments, but there is a lot of hope in this too. So it has a really interesting mix, I think, of emotions as well. And when it gets to the final act, which I do not want to say anything about, and I would say don't watch any trailer for this because I think the trailer shows some things. The final act, when the final thing that he's going to have to do comes into play, I was like, holy moly. And it's the stakes are so great and so high, and so I just love this character so much and his performance so much. I think this is a all-timer for just adventurous kind of immigrant stories. I know there's a lot of great international movies this year, and I know that it's probably going to be Zone of Interest, which I have not seen.
Anatomy of a Fall. It's a best picture, but
I'm going to root for this movie. I'm going to root for this movie.
It's so good.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Look, I love, I mean, Anatomy of Fall is in best picture category, right?
Yeah, I think
and,
so.
and
Yeah.
Anatomy of Fall is a 5-star film for me, but this was like two different movies. The first time I saw The Wages of Fear and what they go through on that adventure,
Yeah.
you know, that blew me away. This movie,
Yes.
obviously, this blew me away on that level.
Let's say there's so many moments, but let's say the first moment when there's a whole bunch of people, I'm not going to say what happens. There's a whole bunch of people riding on the back of a truck and something happens.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And from that moment, I was like, oh boy, we're not in Kansas anymore. This is what's going to happen.
The weird thing is, before the thing happened,
Yeah.
I saw that coming. I'm like, that's going to happen. And there it is.
Yep.
Yep.
But still, the way things go down, and it was just
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Anyway, Eric, I'll stop talking.
There is also a section in this movie. I think I don't know what the actual running time is. It's easily over 2 hours. It
Not
has
too
to.
much over though. It's like 2:10 or something like that. This is not a 3-hour movie.
I thought it was like just under like an hour 40,
You might be right.
an hour
It's
50.
around. Let's just say it's around 2 hours. This is not a 3-hour movie.
The thing is, though, that this is like all the different kind of, I don't want to say scenes, but it feels like chapters.
Yes.
Like each chapter feels like it could be its own movie. So I think like this is one of those movies that seems longer than it is, not because it's boring or not because you're checking your watch, but because it's so epic in scope, just watching them basically just go through hell. And yeah, it's somehow hopeful as they go through it. And I think a lot of that has to do with Seydou and Musa's relationship. The friendship between Seydou and Musa is palpable and got me teary-eyed. And yeah, I got a heavy Sin Nombre vibes throughout most of this, which is weird because Sin Nombre seems a lot darker than well, that's actually they're both dark. And like even Rebel, maybe mostly due to the desert setting. But yeah, the Rebel, with the two brothers, like that whole dynamic. This has a lot in common with a bunch of movies that are fantastic. And
Is
this one's another fantastic movie.
I know, totally different movie, but is this movie on the level of Rebel for you guys?
Well, so no, but I can't say why.
Okay, Bruce, what do you think?
I'll tell you why after we're done recording.
It's a little bit of apples and oranges, I think. So I'd say yes, but they work in different ways. So I would say, depending on what day you hit me, I might like one more than the other. Because if this movie hits me in a different way.
When you mentioned that rating 5-star classic, I'm gonna apply that to Io Capitano. Final moments of like Io Capitano. Really, Eric has mentioned about getting teary-eyed. You're stay till the end. I think if you are not teary-eyed or actually roused to some kind of emotion, you're not a human being. You might be one of those stop motion creatures from stop motion. But no, this is yeah. No, it's 2 hours and 2 minutes for me. Io Capitano, an easy 5-star classic for me. Eric, your final thoughts and rating.
I well, first of all, this is a 5-star movie. Second of all, with the ending, did you feel that something was going to happen like maybe a moment after the credits started rolling?
I think, yeah, I think one of those, that's a great question. I think it's going to be up
Because
to the,
it ends a certain way, but I figure
right.
like if it just went on for like 30 seconds longer, we would have saw something else.
I think the ending after the ending is in the eye of the viewer. So the
Yeah.
viewer can actually make, so if you're seeing it from one way, you're gonna say this happened, and
Yeah.
seeing, so I saw it in another
I
way.
mean, but
Yeah.
see, like what I'm getting at is that there's a certain kind of
Yeah,
we just
you
can't
can't,
we can't talk about this.
yeah, yeah, we can't do that because that's spoiler territory.
The ending's really good,
Yeah, the
but
ending's really good.
at the same time, I could see someone get to that ending and not like
Yes.
it.
Again, it'll be probably left or right. It'll be left or right. And if they, I don't know if it's a good thing that they didn't fill out, Eric, that final couple of frames, or that final 20 seconds or 30 seconds. I think it worked, but I think it's a little bit more open-ended because you and I have totally, what?
Can we do a quick spoiler when we're done on this? Because I really, really, really want to talk about that. It's
You
subtle,
and I
but I
can
think
talk.
it's worth talking about.
Bruce, I know you're on the fly. I think I'll talk with Eric about the ending of Io Capitano after we're done reviewing. I mean, after we're done with the podcast. Bruce, your rating.
Oh yeah, 5 stars.
Five
Easy,
stars.
easy.
5 stars. Easy. 5 stars. 5-star classic for me. 5 stars for Bruce, and 5 stars for Eric. I think this is, how is this year? This, we haven't even started this year. The what,
Yeah,
Mayhem,
it's halfway through February.
The Promised Land, Mayhem, Io Capitano, Stop Motion, and I bet we're leaving at least a couple more movies out, right?
Oh, we're leaving a bunch of them. Yeah, I can't even.
But I
I
mean,
mean,
that's already some great solid movies. I think that people forget this is a great time of year because of all the stuff that was international or only in the film festival circuit gets dropped in these first 2 months. So there's tons of great stuff that not really anyone in America has seen except for the few that have been to the festivals. So we're getting them now. If you aren't going to the theaters, or if you're going looking for these odd movies, or for the streaming choices that are coming out for on demand, there's a ton of great stuff. You just have to look for it.
right. And here's the thing. Look, Stop Motion, it's only going to be in theaters on Friday. It'll eventually be on streaming very soon.
Sure.
If you want that, like you said, repulsion, if you want that Roman Polanski paranoid, crazy, oh my gosh, what's going to happen vibes, this is worth watching in the theaters. And if you want that epic movie that all of us love, oh my gosh, I don't know where you guys saw it, Eric, maybe a TV, Bruce, where I saw it on my iPad. And it's great that we got to see the movie, but I can't imagine how beautiful this movie would look on the big screen.
Oh, yeah.
So
For sure.
it's just amazing. So, okay, that's it. That's our featured films.